It was a quiet Tuesday morning when two cop cars came screeching to a stop in front of my driveway. Sirens off, lights flashing like I'd just robbed a bank. One officer approached with his hand on his holster. The other squinted at the power drill still in my hand. And there I was, standing next to a half-finished wheelchair ramp I was building for my neighbor, feeling like I was about to be booked for carpentry. Behind me, old Mr. Darnell sat in his wheelchair with a tray of lemonade, completely unfazed, like this was just a normal summer morning. He's a retired Navy vet with bad knees and no family nearby. The ramp was my idea. I'd moved in 6 months earlier and saw him struggle daily just to get into his house. What I didn't know was that across the street, Cheryl Langston, self-declared queen of the HOA and full-time control freak, had been watching from her porch, probably logging my every move into that dreaded blue HOA binder she clutches like a Bible. Cheryl didn't just enforce the rules, she weaponized them. And this ramp? To her, it wasn't about safety. It was a threat to her power. I calmly told the officers, I'm building an ADA-compliant ramp for a disabled vet. Here's the city's temporary permit. Everything's legal. But Cheryl came marching across the street like she was leading troops into battle, yelling, He's violating HOA aesthetics. That ramp is an eyesore. The cops looked at each other, clearly realizing they'd been dragged into a turf war over wood and screws. They left after checking the paperwork. But Cheryl wasn't done. That night, I got hit with 3 HOA notices, one claiming I hadn't submitted a ramp design, one for noise violations, and one accusing me of using the wrong shade of wood stain. I kid you not. It wasn't about rules, it was about control. See, Cheryl wasn't just mad about the ramp. She was still bitter about losing a zoning fight years ago. Her backyard proposal for a pool house got denied because of a letter Darnell had written to the board. Ever since then, she'd been itching for revenge. And now I was just collateral damage. But I wasn't backing down. Over the weekend, I finished the ramp with a few helpful neighbors. Darnell tested it with the biggest smile I'd ever seen. That smile? Worth every nail. Then Cheryl escalated. She filed a complaint with the city, claiming my ramp was a hazard. That's how I ended up nearly cuffed in my own driveway. So I documented everything. Permits, photos, materials list, timestamps. I even installed extra security cams after catching 2 HOA volunteers poking around my yard at 1 a.m. with flashlights. I took all of it to the city's code office. The officer there, gruff guy named Leo, took one look at my file and said, You're not just within the law. You're setting an example. He handed me an official compliance letter, signed and sealed. Boom. Meanwhile, Cheryl called an emergency HOA meeting at the community center, billed it as a property value crisis. She showed a slideshow of ramps mine, and some grotesquely photoshopped ones claiming the neighborhood would turn into a trailer park. But the real turning point? Darnell rolled up to that meeting in his uniform blazer, looked Cheryl in the eye, and told the room how he'd served his country, how I helped him regain his independence, and how the ramp let him live with dignity again. Then he said, If a ramp offends you more than a man crawling upstairs, maybe the problem isn't the ramp. Silence. Then applause. Cheryl's slideshow fizzled out. But she wasn't done. The next morning, I found a $2.500 violation notice duct taped to my door and signed. No legal header. Just her name. Cheryl had forged it. I forwarded everything to the city. Then I emailed the HOA board, copied city officials, and laid it all out. The harassment, the forged documents, the discrimination. That got their attention. The city launched an investigation. News outlets picked it up. Disabled vet targeted by HOA for ramp. Support poured in. One neighbor baked us cookies. Another offered legal advice. Cheryl? She ranted on the community forum, accused Darnell of faking his disability, said I manipulated the media. A vote was called to remove her as HOA president. That night, the clubhouse was packed. Cheryl made a final speech whiny, defensive, desperate. Then the results came in. 87% voted for her removal. She stormed out. In the weeks that followed, things changed. Neighbors started talking again, helping each other, even laughing. I was asked to help draft new accessibility rules. Darnell's ramp got a fresh coat of paint and a small metal plaque that read, "Built by neighbors. Protected by law." Sometimes, doing the right thing stirs up trouble, but it also builds something stronger, like a community that finally remembers what it means to care. So, what do you think? Was Cheryl just enforcing rules or abusing power? Have you ever dealt with a power-tripping HOA or seen kindness get twisted into a problem? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your stories.